Hi guys, this is kind of a return video for me because I've been off for almost 3 months because I run out of ideas, but now it turns out I'm getting too many ideas. There is some ideas from friends who will get a shout out in that future video, but today is a shout out to start with to one of my friends that didn't give me an idea, but he's been asking one for ages, to Kyle Evans. He's a good friend of mine in school. So today, to start off the new videos, I'm going to be reviewing, if I can, the whole James Bond 007 movie series. All 24 of them, from Sean Connery's Dr. No to Daniel Craig's Spectre. So I'll do as much as I can. Hopefully we won't run out of storage on the phone. So I'm going to kick this off right from the start with Sean Connery in Dr. No. I don't really remember much about this one because it's been ages since I've seen it. But Dr. No is actually the first Bond villain, which surprisingly before Blofeld appeared on screens. And on the blurb it says his name is Bond, James Bond, and here in his explosive film debut, Ian Fleming's immortal action hero blazes through one of his most spectacular adventures. Sean Connery embodies the suave yet lethal cool of Agent 007 as he battles the mysterious Dr. No, a scientific genius bent on destroying the US space program. This from 1962, the first James Bond film. I'm gonna have to rewatch these because they are really good. So probably one of the best Bond films with Sean Connery. So there we have 1962's Dr. No. Which is followed by a return from Sean Connery in From Russia with Love. Again, not one of my most favourite. But apparently Sean Connery returns in this thrilling minute adventure featuring remarkable villains, beautiful women and exotic locales. This time, Bond squares off against the evil Spectre organisation in a race to seize the Soviet Lecter decoding machine, thrusting him into a thrilling boat chase, a brutal helicopter attack, and a deadly brawl aboard the Orient Express. There are a lot of train top fights in the Bond series, which I will get to in a later movie. So there is From Russia with Love. Probably one of the best films, but one of the worst theme tunes in Goldfinger. To be honest, I think Shirley Bassey should have taken some singing lessons before she sing the theme tune for a Bond film, because it didn't sound like Shirley Bassey I would have thought about. But from the opening bomb blast outside a steamy nightclub to a last-minute escape from the president's personal jet, James Bond's third screen adventure is an exhilarating, pulse-pounding thrill ride. Once again, Sean Connery returns as Agent 007 and faces off with a maniacal villain bent on destroying all the gold in Fort Knox and obliterating the world economy. And there's a quote here: "Goldfinger is the best of all the Bonds." And that quote's from Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. So, Sean Connery in Goldfinger, which is then followed by a mostly underwater movie known as Thunderball. Now the theme tune in this one by Tom Jones is a damn sight better than the one in Goldfinger by Shirley Bassey. The thrill has never let up as James Bond dives into this riveting adventure filled with explosive confrontation and amazing underwater action sequences. Sean Connery brings his characteristic style, humour and magnetism to Agent 007 as he travels to NASA to track down villainous criminal Emilio Largo, who is threatening to plunge the world into a nuclear holocaust. From 1965, this is. In the early days of Bond, they used to bring out one of the films every year. So, I mean, this is the 4th film and the 4th year straight they've been coming out. So, yep, theme tune from Tom Jones in Thunderball. And that is very closely followed by 1967's You Only Live Twice, again with Sean Connery. A disaster in space pushes humankind toward World War III, and only James Bond can prevent it. In this magnificent pull-out-the-stops movie spectacular, Sean Connery returns as Agent 007, who travels to Japan to stop the evil Spectre organisation and its diabolical leader, Ernst Stavro Blofeld, in this movie, who's played by Donald Pleasence, to stop Blofeld from instigating global warfare from his massive headquarters in an inactive volcano. But yeah, You Only Live Twice, definitely among my lowest rankings of Bond films. Because Bond in Japan, not really something they should have done in the early years of 007. Not at all. Anyway, but apparently You Only Live Twice. Followed by a brand new actor altogether. And Bond is now on Her Majesty's Secret Service. James Bond goes undercover in the treacherous Swiss Alps in this action-packed epic filled with artillery, leaden ski pursuits, incredible stunts and non-stop thrills. This time, George Lazenby leaps into the role of Agent 007 with supreme confidence and undeniable charisma, even finding love with Tracy DiVincenzo, or however you pronounce it, who is played by Diana Rigg. But first, Bond must stop evil genius Blofeld, in this movie played by Telly Savalas, from realising a germ warfare plot that could kill millions. From 1969, James Bond is on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and this is ironically George Lazenby's first and last appearance as Bond. He was a bit too cartoony, if I say so myself. But Connery fans, fear not, because he has returned, and diamonds are forever. You can see this Sean Connery as Bond, and Charles Gray there as Ernst Blofeld, and it looks like they're outside a casino, hence the casino sign in the background. A fortune in stolen diamonds thrusts James Bond into action in this thrilling adventure. As I said, Sean Connery returns as Agent 007 and teams up with Tiffany Case, played by Jill St. John, to prevent his nemesis Blofeld, as I said, played by Charles Gray, from using the diamonds in a deadly laser satellite. And this was Sean Connery's final official appearance as Bond. He did play Bond in an unofficial movie, which I will get to later, if not in a future video. now they bring a new actor in for 7 movies. In Sir Roger Moore with Live and Let Die. And apparently nobody does it like Bond, as he battles the forces of black magic in this high-octane adventure that hurtles him from the streets of New York City to Louisiana's Bayou Country. With charm, wit and deadly assurance, Roger Moore steps in as Agent 007 and takes on a powerful drug lord, played by Yaphet Kotto, with a diabolical scheme to conquer the world. And as you can see, that never happened. Yep. Sir Roger Moore in Live and Let Die. Ironically, the first out of 7 that he has portrayed Bond. Roger Moore is back and he's battling the man with the golden gun. Jack, stop it. James Bond has been marked for death and he'll need all his lethal instincts and seductive charm to survive in this action-packed adventure. Roger Moore returns as Agent 007 and faces off in a deadly game of cat and mouse with assassin Francisco Scaramanga, played by Christopher Lee, featuring a wild automobile chase through Bangkok and Bond's stunning confrontation with an entire martial arts school. The man with the golden gun delivers non-stop excitement from 1974, the year when my cameraman and father was born. Again, Sir Roger Moore returns in The Spy Who Loved Me. James Bond and the beautiful Soviet agent Anya Amasova, played by Barbara Bach, team up to investigate missing Allied and Russian automatic submarines, following a deadly trail that leads to billionaire shipping magnate Carl Stromberg, played by Kurt Jurgens. Soon, Bond and Anya are the world's only hope as they discover a nightmarish scheme of global nuclear Armageddon. This film is from 1977. Sir Roger Moore in The Spy Who Loved Me. And then, 2 years later, James Bond is blasted into space in Moonraker. Again, as you can see, Sir Roger Moore, a bit of a familiar face in the Bond films. James Bond blasts into orbit in this pulse-pounding adventure that takes him from Venice to Rio de Janeiro and to outer space. Roger Moore stars for the 4th time as Agent 007 and joins forces with NASA scientist Holly Goodhead, played by Lois Childs, to prevent a power-mad industrialist, played by Michael Lonsdale, from destroying all human life on Earth. But as you can see, he wasn't on Earth, as is in the title, Moonraker. But 2 years later, he has landed back on Earth in For Your Eyes Only. You can see once again, familiar with it, Sir Roger Moore on the cover as James Bond. And he is thrust into one of his most riveting adventures in this jam-packed free-for-all of outrageous stunts, passionate encounters and exciting confrontations. Sir Roger Moore portrays Agent 007 with lethal determination in a plot that finds him infiltrating the Greek underworld and racing against time to find a stolen device capable of controlling a fleet of nuclear submarines. from 1981. And that was For Your Eyes Only. Now this one is not in the official James Bond series, created by a completely different company altogether that's familiar with that face. Sean Connery returns for his final performance as Super Agent James Bond in this high-velocity action thriller from the director of Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. When two automatic warheads are hijacked by the evil Spectre organization, James Bond is hurled into an explosive, pulse-pounding race to save the world from nuclear terrorists. And what I saw of this as well, Rowan Atkinson is actually one of them that is in this. Rowan Atkinson, some of you may know him as the hapless bumbler Mr. Bean. But yep, never say never again. Here we have one of Sir Roger Moore's, final appearances as Bond in Octopussy. James Bond, played by Sir Roger Moore, may have met his match in Octopussy, played by Maud Adams, an entrancing beauty involved in a devastating military plot to destroy Detente from the palaces of India to a speeding circuit train in Germany and a mid-air battle on the wing of a high-flying jet. Only Agent 007 can stop the nightmarish scheme. And I don't want to reveal too much, but he did stop the nightmarish scheme in 1983. These films have been going for quite a long time. They're bringing out a new one next year, Bond 25. Now we have A Perfect View to a Kill, which is Sir Roger Moore's final appearance as James Bond and Lois Maxwell's final appearance as Miss Moneypenny. Lois Maxwell has been playing Moneypenny since 1962, with the release of the first Bond movie, Dr. No, started. Played her for 23 years as it happens. Agent 007, played by Sir Roger Moore, races against time to stop a power-mad industrialist, played by Christopher Walken, who plots to kill millions in order to corner the world's microchip supply. From the Eiffel Tower to the top of the Golden Gate Bridge, James Bond can't be stopped. But Sir Roger Moore retired, so they had to find a new actor. But yep, half of this was filmed in France. But Cubby Broccoli didn't have to wait long to find a new James Bond in Timothy Dalton, who stars in his first and one of his last appearances as Bond in The Living Daylights. But Timothy Dalton is suave and lethal as Super Agent James Bond in this turbocharged action adventure that pulls out all the stops for excitement. Armed with a gadget-laden Aston Martin and his license to kill, Agent 007 must stop a terrifying weapons conspiracy that may be linked to the Soviet military high command. Yep. Timothy Dalton stars in The Living Daylights. This video does go on for quite a bit, seeing as how there is about 25 of them. Now James Bond quits his job and almost loses his license to kill, as is the title of this. again, Bond is portrayed by Timothy Dalton. James Bond takes on his most daring adventure ever when he turns renegade and goes head-to-head with one of the international drug cartel's most brutal and powerful leaders. This time, he is fighting not for his country, not for justice, but he is fighting for revenge. Well, I didn't think I'd get through all these, watching them, because I didn't think I'd be interested in them, but I was, turns out. Not one of the best actors to play James Bond, if I may say, but Pierce Brosnan is brought into the role in GoldenEye. And yes, Pierce Brosnan ignites the screen in his first adventure as the unstoppable James Bond. Well, ignites the screen, what film were they watching? When a powerful satellite system falls into the hands of a former ally turned enemy, only 007 can save the world from an awesome space weapon that, in one short pulse, could destroy the Earth. From 1995. 6 years they had to find a new James Bond after that, with Timothy Dalton retired. Next, I don't know why, but Pierce Brosnan is back in Tomorrow Never Dies. Pierce Brosnan returns as the fearless, cunning and devastatingly cool secret agent 007 in this thrilling adventure. When a ruthless media tycoon, played by Jonathan Pryce, tries to destabilise the world economy by orchestrating a deadly standoff between world superpowers in an attempt to achieve high ratings for his media conglomerate. Bond must step in to prevent World War III, co-starring Terry Hatcher and Michelle Yeoh. This high-tech action adventure will accelerate Bond fans of all ages. From 1997. Timothy Dalton is back, out the way, Jack. And apparently the world is not enough. When the suave agent 007, played by Pierce Brosnan, is assigned to protect an oil heiress, played by Sophie Marceau, he is catapulted into a passionate, adrenaline-charged adventure that pits him against one of his most deadly adversaries, Renard, played by Robert Carlyle, a ruthless anarchist whose total imperviousness to pain makes him a virtually unstoppable enemy. The unrelenting suspense, breathtaking action, and sly wit never let up in this explosively entertaining thriller. Don't know how it's entertaining with Pierce Brosnan, who's possibly one of the worst people to play James Bond. But if I'm watching all the James Bonds, I think I would rather die another day, as is the title of this film. But Pierce Brosnan plunges into action as James Bond in this adrenaline-pumping thrill ride, co-starring Oscar winner Halle Berry, bristling with excitement, bursting with explosive special effects, and surging with high-octane chases. Die Another Day is a pulse-pounding adventure with super cool quality from start to finish, and that is quoted by News of the World. And there's another quote here from The Sun: Bond is back, and it's even better than ever. From 2002. And I think the last movie I showed you, The World Is Not Enough, was Desmond Llewellyn's final appearance as Q, the one who makes all of Bond's gadgets. He died in a car crash when he was about 85, but he was in literally all of them since 1962 with Dr. No. Pierce Brosnan's final appearance as Bond and Die Another Day. And now, one I keep finding in the charity shops actually. And Daniel Craig steps into the role of 007 in Casino Royale. Quite hard to read this from the font that's on it. Casino Royale introduces James Bond before he holds his license to kill. That's because Casino Royale was the first book in the original series. But Bond is no less dangerous, and with 2 professional assassinations in quick succession, he is elevated to 00 status. M, played by Judi Dench, who is head of the British Secret Service, sends the newly promoted 007 on his first mission that takes him to Madagascar, the Bahamas, and eventually leads him to Montenegro to face Le Chiffre, a ruthless financier under threat from his terrorist clientele, who is attempting to restore his funds in a high-stakes game of poker at the Casino Royale. M places Bond under the watchful eyes of the Treasury official Vesper Lynd. At first sceptical of what value Vesper can provide, Bond's interest in her deepens as they brave danger together. The Chiffre's cunning and cruelty come to bear on them both in a way Bond could never imagine, and he learns his... Shut up, Jack! And he learns his most important lesson: trust no one. Can't even trust my own dog to be quiet. Daniel Craig returns as James Bond in 2008 Quantum of Solace. Don't know what my dog's doing. Daniel Craig returns as James Bond on a non-stop quest for justice that crisscrosses the globe. Bond meets the beautiful but feisty Camille, played by Olga Kurylenko, who leads him to Dominic Green, played by Matthew Amalric, a ruthless businessman and major force within the mysterious quantum organisation. When Bond uncovers a conspiracy to take control of one of the world's most important natural resources, he must navigate a minefield of treachery, deception and murder to neutralise Quantum before it is too late. What are you doing, dog? It kicks the living daylights out of any rival action hero films, apparently, according to The Sneak and The Sun. 2 more films to go, and the next one is possibly my favourite out of all 24 or 25 Bond films. And Daniel Craig returns to the role in Skyfall. And according to the Mail on Sunday, they have the same mind as me, for they quoted that it's the best Bond film ever. What are you doing, dog? Playing with his bone kit. You're a muppet, aren't you? Yes, you are. Daniel Craig is back as James Bond in Skyfall, the 23rd instalment of the longest running film franchise in history. I should get a world record, that. I think it's been in the Guinness. In Skyfall, Bond's loyalty to M, again played by Judi Dench, is tested as her past returns to haunt her. 007 must track down and destroy the threat, no matter how personal the cost. When Bond's latest assignment goes gravely wrong and agents around the world are exposed, MI6 is attacked, forcing M to relocate the agency. These events cause her authority and position to be challenged by Mallory, played by Ralph Fiennes, who also played Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter series. The new chairman of the Intelligence and Security Committee, with MI6 now compromised from both inside and out, M is left with only one ally she can trust: Bond. 007 takes to the shadows, aided only by Field Agent Eve, played by Naomi Harris, following a trail to the mysterious Silver, played by Javier Bardem, whose lethal and hidden motives have yet to reveal themselves. From 2012, one of the more recent ones, with Daniel Craig. Oh, I've got a big stack of them here. The final Bond film. So you can bother watching this because it's so long, aren't you? Spectre. The organisation which Blofeld is currently still the leader of. A cryptic message from the past sends James Bond, played by Daniel Craig again, on a rogue mission to Mexico City and eventually to Rome, where he meets Lucia Sciarra, played by Monica Bellucci, the forbidden widow of an infamous criminal. Bond infiltrates a secret meeting and uncovers the existence of the sinister organisation known as Spectre. Jack, be quiet. Meanwhile, back in London, Max Denby, played by Andrew Scott, is the new head of the Centre for National Security. Questions Bond's actions and challenges the relevance of MI6, led by M. In this one, played by Ralph Fiennes, Bond covertly enlists Moneypenny, now played by Naomi Harris, and Q, now played by Ben Whishaw, as was in Skyfall, to help him seek out Madeline Swan, played by Leia Seydoux, the daughter of his old nemesis Mr. White, played by Jesper Christensen, who may hold the clue to untangling the web of Spectre. As the daughter of an assassin, she understands Bond in a way most others cannot. As Bond ventures towards the heart of Spectre,